Hello and welcome to Monkhouse on Mondays, which is going out on Wednesdays and Fridays. Today, you find me in my library talking to Stuart from ReferAll. Hi, Stuart. How are you?
Hi, David. Very well, thanks. Good to speak to you.
Excellent. Yeah, and you. I think it's been quite a while actually since you and I spoke. So let's just catch up on all the great things you're doing. So just give the viewers a little bit of a background of what you do and why you do it.
So ReferAll is a data management platform for the safe and efficient provisioning of lifestyle services. And we currently underpin about 300 services across the UK, such as physical activity referral, cancer and cardiac rehab, diabetes prevention, those typical types of services that don't normally factor into your mainstream leisure kind of provision. We have a huge set of data sitting in our system, about 12 million kind of question sets around validated and lifestyle measures.
Okay, fantastic. And one thing that's really interested me is if we watch the sector as we approach lockdown, nobody went early. Everybody waited until we had to close down. Those vulnerable groups that you deal with, did you see a downturn in their usage? Did they take responsibility for themselves and stop coming?
It's looking at the data, it's really hard to actually put a pinpoint on whether that was actually the case. I mean, it varies greatly, almost between, you could almost put it down to disease type and risk type of whether those in the more vulnerable categories were likely to leave a bit earlier, but we couldn't see any evidence of that. Some of our customers were given a direction from NHS England to stop immediately face-to-face delivery. So those were immediately impacted. But even so, David, that was still very, very close to the point of lockdown. So we didn't see it. And we think maybe those people that were, developing new physical activity habits for the process of then going through a behaviour change to link to their health, they were thinking, I don't want this to stop. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to keep going with this because I want to give myself the best chance. And then lockdown came. Yeah.
That's really interesting, isn't it? I was really surprised that somebody didn't go early within the sector just to show that they were prepared to go early. But actually, when you start thinking through what you just said, it's fascinating that the customer base actually didn't stop early either. But I guess that's the value of what you've got. And it would be really interesting, actually, if you're going to share some of that with the sector in the future. Is there any plans to share that sort of insight at a later date?
There is indeed. Actually, we're using this period during lockdown to look at some of the data. So we've got a whole new program, and we called it Data Insights. So we're looking at what's happening currently during lockdown. So how our customers are reaching people and keeping engagement really high, which we know is going to be key for when we emerge from lockdown and the lights go on back in operators' centres again. So we know that's really key. So we're delivering a set of, we've already delivered a set of 10 emails to our customers that are looking at hints and tips and those kind of things. But we are also going deeper, and you'll see this coming across our social channels, a set of data insights that now starts to look at our data that we have and what we can do to make changes moving forwards.
Okay, that's really interesting, because what I wanted to know was what are people doing really well? I've seen a few things on social media where the physical activity coordinators are phoning customers that are vulnerable and seeing how they are and things like that. But what sort of things have you seen from that good practice point of view? Yeah,
I mean, look, I think everyone feels a bit, down and a bit flat about the whole thing at the moment, but there is some really great things happening, and I think, that's really key. But we've got a split. We've got a definite split. We've got a split where staff that are typically running these health type programs are on furlough.
Yeah.
So we've got that definite split where I fear those participants are not being reached, and that's a risk for the future, I feel. So there's a note to mention there. But the good stuff that's coming out of that, we have a large partner who has currently 32,000 active people currently at the moment, so people that are maintaining participation in an education session, and that's being delivered remotely. So rather than having the face-to-face education session, they're delivering that by Zoom, and they're able to maintain a level of numbers. It's not the same level, it's about 80%, but I think it's 80%, so that's a really good thing. One of our organisations, one of our partners that look at prehab for cancer, they're actually delivering physical packs. So they've created a pack of exercise cards, branded exercise cards, exercise bands, and they're putting those in the post and getting those out to those people that would normally come along to the centres. And again, as you mentioned, we've got a lot of online content that's being delivered from operators, lots of people taking part in classes, that one-way kind of presentation. And just yesterday, we're hearing about engagement and almost the need for two-way communication.
Yes.
So think about, you know, like you and I are talking, think about how that could be expanded to a group market. So you have instructor or, you know, coach leading a group session, but there is two-way feedback. And I think that's going to be really key if we continue in this kind of state to get that increased engagement. So there's some great stuff going on. There's some brilliant resources across the web as well. It is almost hard to find them because there's so many out there now. And I was talking to a large tech company earlier in the week, and they thought that what are we now, 5 or 6 weeks into COVID, but they thought that it had elevated, or should I say escalated, the industry by 5 years.
Wow.
So
okay.
all of a sudden you have organizations that thought online was for, you know, YouTube buffs, it was you know, then all of a sudden you've got this new content coming out. And there's a great resource called 10 Today, and that's just 10today.co.uk, and it's a set of activity resources for older people, and it's online, and it's really adaptable, but there's some great content out there. But I think the successes are going to be where people continue engagement and carry on talking to their customers.
Absolutely. I think I've recognised today that actually I've been a bit flat and a bit down for the last couple of days, and I'm trying to work out why and what it means. And I think I'm missing conversation, I'm missing face-to-face activity, I'm missing being with people, missing making a difference. So I guess if you're, you know, the people who consume your product, that those operators are putting in the types of efforts you've described, it's going to make a massive difference to the mental health of their clients, let alone their physical health. So really positive that you're hearing that type of stuff going forward, and thank you for the reference for that website. So be useful at the end actually if we just repeat some of those, just so people have got them. Okay, so we're starting to see, you know, I read today in Health Club Management a 4-point strategy for reopening. What do you think the vulnerable groups that your software deals with, what will they be expecting around reopening?
It's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. Some of those people in the kind of high-risk groups are on a 12-week lockdown anyway.
Yeah.
So regardless, people will be reticent to return, I feel. And then you've got those that sit into the vulnerable category that currently at the moment have been given advice by NHS England that they can open their window, but they can't set out of the house. So you've got a real two distinct groups that are possibly going to be coming back to exercise at some point within the facility. I think what's going to be really key to those groups is looking at the fear of those participants coming back and how we overcome that potential fear. So affirming social distancing measures and cleanliness of the facility is going to be key. But right now, I think upgrading your engagement strategies and having conversations with those people and understanding whether they would likely to return. You almost need to know if people aren't going to return almost as much as those that are going to return, because you need to start to think about, you know, the capacities. But I guess there's an overarching concern that we certainly have, where we've got operators at 6- and 7-digit monthly revenues who are currently on zero, and looking at the, you know, social distancing measures that will be in place in clubs, and whether the return to membership and the revenues that will come from that will actually sustain those organisations enough to still run these subsidised programmes, or free at the point of delivery programmes in some cases. So there's a real challenge. It's a bit of an unknown at the moment, and I think we have to make a leap. We have to make a step. We have to do something. We don't quite know what that's going to look like yet, but if we don't do something, if we don't survey, if we don't understand what's happening with our guys, then there will be a slow concern. But look, I mean, the fear is out there for sure. We know it is. So I think it's down to the good quality staff that we have in our industry to get back out and to come alongside individuals and give them confidence that, you know, that doing nothing is a greater risk than doing something. I think, and you know, all-cause mortality is continuing to happen. I mean, just yesterday, a statistic from one hospital where they were routinely doing 1,000 cancer diagnoses a day, that's currently down to 200.
Right.
It's not to say that the other 800 people are not at risk of cancer is to say that we're not picking these guys up. So, you know, there's a real reality to this, that coronavirus is a part of the greater health model, the public health model. So we have to deal with it safely, but we also have to not lose sight of what also is still out there, risk factors to conditions and disease.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know if you had a look at the stuff that Martin Allison is currently putting out, which I think is really interesting, around sort of reshaping what we do, renewal, not necessarily resetting back to where we are. And that piece you just talked around, that almost the wave waiting to happen, because those 800 people, as you say, have still got cancer, they just don't know it. And sooner or later, we're going to have some service and some product to allow us to catch that back up. And as part of this renewal of who we are as a sector, what we do as a sector, the contracting marketplace that we find ourselves, that's got to be a real driving force. So are you able to influence at that level? Are you talking to UK Active and CIMSPA and things like that? Are you sharing this insight?
Yeah, we do. We work very closely with UK Active. In fact, actually, they're our research partner, and we've done some publications around exercise referral research. And it's a really good point, because, you know, there's a middle sector where I feel that our industry has a massive part to play, and that is in encouraging people to become more healthy. Yeah. Not necessarily more fit, that's a byproduct, but more healthy seems to be what will be a driving thing. I mean, never before have people been more conscious about their health and the health of other people around them than we are right now. So to me, that just provides a massive opportunity. You know, if we turn the lights back on and we just try and work with the people that we're always used to working with, then yeah, sure, I think there's going to be struggles. But if we turn our lights on and our offer's slightly different, and we put the new neon sign up and says, hey, look, we're a health improvement facility, then I think there's going to be quite a change and a massive opportunity for the industry. One, I think the industry is ready to go for.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And offline, I think we need another conversation, which I'm going to do, but we've actually used up most of our time. So could you just repeat back that website that you recommended we had a look at?
Yeah, it's a great
as well, Stuart, go for it.
Yeah, it's a great resource. It's www.10today, so that's just the numeric 10today.co.uk. But also, you know, there's some great advice out there. So all the local and regional cancer and other voluntary organisations, you know, have got great resources on there. So if you go to Diabetes UK, if you go to Cancer Research, Bowel Cancer, you know, any of those volunteer organisations, there's huge amounts of information and advice and resources on there, and it's good quality, David. That's the key. Yeah. Good quality. Yeah. There has been lots of commentary recently around online classes and, you know, fitness coaches delivering things about whether they're delivering at the right level or the right standard, you know, but normally if they're backed by a large organisation, it will be good quality. So,
no, absolutely. No, that's a really good point, and I think it's something I'm very keen about from CIMSPA's point of view as well, so I think it's a really good point at the end. Okay, that's brilliant. Stuart, thank you so much for your time. Really good to talk to you. Take care.
Thanks, David. All the best. Cheers. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.